No one anticipated the message that Jay Prince just delivered to the whole rap scene. Additionally, it struck at a time when everyone believed that this issue was resolved. Right now, Finesse2Tymes has one of the strongest contracts in independent rap. And that was made very evident by the man with the cage's keys. NBA YoungBoy cannot open that door with any amount of money. Not right now. Not in this manner. Most of you haven't been completely informed of the business struggle that is taking place behind closed doors between YoungBoy and Finesse2Tymes. Despite the allegiance and camaraderie that are evident on social media, John Prince didn't make Rap-A-Lot Records a lasting institution by allowing musicians to come and go whenever wealthy people showed around. And that's precisely what makes this scenario far more complex than what appears on your timeline. The true reason why Finesse2Tymes can't just move in with YoungBoy, what he's really locked into by that deal, and what the power dynamics in this industry are clearly indicated by Prince's response. We're going to dissect everything without any filters. Hey, how are you, family? Greetings from the channel once again. If you're new here, we go into the real politics of the industry, the dynamics of the streets, and the behind-the-scenes actions that the mainstream media won't take the time to truly describe to you. And now, we're delving deeply into one of the most intriguing chess games currently taking place in hip-hop. John, Prince, NBA YoungBoy, and Finesse2Tymes are all entangled in a situation that combines culture, loyalty, and business. You will be legitimately surprised by the specifics of what would be required to release Finesse2Tymes from this arrangement. So be sure to remain tuned until the very end. Now let's get started. Let me be really honest with you all before we go on this crazy journey. This incident has generated a lot of discussion on social media. People are making assumptions, picking sides, and seeming to understand the whole situation while, in reality, they are only seeing 10% of it. We're going to separate the genuine from the phony, the facts from the fiction, and provide you with a thorough explanation of how we got here. You must comprehend the identities of all three of these men in order to fully comprehend this circumstance. Not only as public personalities or artists, but as individuals functioning inside a very particular world with very certain rules. John Prince is more than simply a music executive. He is among the most revered and, in some quarters, feared individuals in hip-hop history. At a time when no one was considering Houston as a music market, this man founded Rap-A-Lot Records in Houston, Texas. He created and signed legends. He negotiated business politics that would have crushed regular people, and he accomplished all of this while upholding a personal ethics and street credibility that even his opponents have openly acknowledged. Memphis rapper Finesse2Tymes has been gaining a lot of popularity. The streets have been shaken with him because he is genuine and unvarnished. His music has a strong Memphis vibe that appeals to a particular group of people. People quickly realized why the chemistry made sense when NBA YoungBoy began to show him affection. YoungBoy has always been drawn to artists who embody that spirit from the ground up, seem authentic, and are unpolished in the proper manner. This is when things get very hot, though, because there were conditions attached to Finesse2Tymes' arrival at this buzzing moment. An agreement with Jay ties those chords together. Prince, most people don't realize how complicated that is. Check it out. Then, since this is the basis for everything else in this story, let's discuss what Finesse2Tymes is truly locked into. A 360-degree contract has been inked by Finesse2Tymes now. Let me explain what a 360 deal actually entails for those of you who may not instantly understand. In the past, a typical record agreement involved a label signing an artist, assisting them in creating and releasing music, and keeping a portion of record sales. That was the fundamental exchange. A 360 agreement, however, is an entirely different species. In a 360 deal, the label or management firm owns a portion of almost everything the artist makes money from. Yes, we are talking about recorded music. But the label effectively presents itself as a financial participant in every revenue stream that the artist receives, including touring, merchandise, endorsement deals, acting chances, brand partnerships, publishing, and more. Now, a 360 agreement can really benefit an artist in the proper circumstances and with the appropriate team behind them since, in theory, it encourages the label to make more aggressive investments in all facets of your career rather than just pushing recordings. However, a 360 arrangement become a prison when an artist wants to leave. The partnership has failed, or another opportunity is luring them in a new direction. Furthermore, that word is not overstated. It's the right description. Finesse2Tymes' contract isn't only a 360 deal in the traditional sense. The phrases are organized in a way that gives Jay, based on what has been revealed about this scenario. Prince and his group have substantial control over not only where Finesse2Tymes earns money, but also where he can record songs, who he can officially work with on a commercial basis, and how any new contract would need to be set up in the event that he moved. This implies that it is not just a transaction where you write a check and leave. Even if YoungBoy walked in with a number that might buy Finesse2Tymes out, that agreement has clauses that would require negotiation. Clauses that safeguard the original party's financial interests long after a buyout occurs, and maybe non-compete clauses that would make a quick switch to a new label structure more difficult. But the worst part, J Prince does not approach negotiations in a desperate manner. You have the luxury of being patient when you have established the kind of financial infrastructure and legacy that he has. You are not required to accept any offer that is made to you. And when it comes to a contract disagreement, patience is power. I'll explain it in more detail for you all. When you sign a contract with AJ, you're not only signing with a label when it comes to Prince's stature, you are entering into a contract with a network, a name, a reputation, and a security system that functions on a level higher than what is possible in a typical music business transaction. There is worth in that weight. Furthermore, J Prince does not feel compelled to negotiate Finesse2Tymes out of an agreement that he considers fair and that Finesse2Tymes voluntarily signed into because he is fully aware of the value he delivers to any artist under his umbrella. This is where things start to become very interesting though, because you must go back and comprehend the path these two took to reach this point in order to completely comprehend why YoungBoy is in a position to try to buy Finesse2Tymes out of this deal in the first place. There are also a lot of large potholes on that route. YoungBoy and Finesse2Tymes did not always exhibit the camaraderie that they do in public. These two were genuinely at odds with one another. NBA YoungBoy and Finesse2Tymes' public feud was the kind of intensity that, in the rap scene, might have evolved into something far more dangerous than words and subliminal tracks. Given the backgrounds and relationships involved, the tension stemmed from the intricate and multifaceted dynamics of street politics combined with rap politics, which are among the most dangerous combinations in existence if you have even a passing understanding of either world. Conflict doesn't stay tiny when you have two artists who both have street credibility, who are surrounded by individuals who follow a specific code, and who both have unwavering pride. Everything is drawn into it by its gravitational pull. People on both sides at the time shared the details of what caused the initial conflict between Y and Finesse2Tymes in social media posts and interviews. There were shots taken, not the type you read about in court documents, but the kind that show up in energy, in the way some talks end abruptly, and in the way some streets align and realign. The animosity between Finesse2Tymes and YoungBoy in the Memphis to Louisiana rap politics pipeline was so intense that many in those circles took it seriously. This is the point at which we need to discuss something that many people overlook when discussing beefs that end. It takes more than just a handshake and a photo opportunity to put an end to a rap feud, particularly when it involves men with genuine street credibility and connections. A true beef's conclusion makes a statement. It conveys something about both sides. It indicates that both men were confident enough in their roles to put something more important ahead of the conflict between them, and that is just what took place in this instance. Whatever was going on between YoungBoy and Finesse2Tymes was crushed. When they reunited, it wasn't for show. This was a real reconnection, as seen by the way they moved and publicly supported one another. It wasn't a business calculation that YoungBoy was drawn to Finesse2Tymes and wanted him on his side. It wasn't just a business calculation. At least, there was a genuine understanding of what Finesse2Tymes stands for as a person and an artist. YoungBoy is frustrated by the contract scenario since he wants to invest in and grow with the man he is currently dating. Additionally, this current framework is preventing what could be a very potent professional collaboration. YoungBoy allegedly took action to purchase Finesse2Tymes out of his contract because of this frustration. He wasn't going to treat this as a haphazard business purchase. He was treating it like he was looking after someone who is now in his social circle, in the culture that is very important. Nothing else can match the kind of action that fosters and strengthens loyalty. Let's now discuss something that makes this whole situation much more complicated. It's the past between Jay and NBA Young Prince themselves. As neither of them is beginning this negotiation in an impartial manner, there is history there. And everything in the world these men work in is shaped by history. John, there have been conflicts between Prince and NBA YoungBoy that have been made public. John, being a prominent person in the industry and culture, Prince has occasionally been involved in or close to circumstances concerning YoungBoy. The connection between an OG of Jay, being a young artist of YoungBoy's generation, and being of Prince caliber is never easy. Respect must be created and preserved. Certain boundaries are Additionally, there are times when prominent men's commercial interests diverge, which leads to conflict that is difficult to resolve because both sides have too much pride and status to just give up. People on the streets have been discussing Jay's relationship, Prince and YoungBoy for some time. John, Prince has often stated in public that he is not scared by YoungBoy's fan base, reach, or the resources at his disposal. Jay simply doesn't do that. Prince is active. He has been in rooms with individuals whose danger and power much outweigh what is usually produced by the music industry, and he has made his way through each and every one of those rooms without losing his place. The strategy YoungBoy has used to try to buy Finesse2Tymes out of his contract touches on more than just money, according to J Prince. In the world, Jay, the way you approach a negotiation says just as much as the offer itself. According to Prince, who has been in business for decades, if you encounter a man of J Prince's stature and basically say, "You better come correct if you want to pull someone out of his camp. You had better be respectful when you arrive." it would be wise for you to acknowledge the existing relationship and investment. And this is where Jay's public reaction came in. Prince becomes intriguing due to Jay Prince is sending a message by stepping out and addressing the issue in public, as opposed to just dealing with it discreetly behind closed doors. It's a declaration to the industry that he won't pretend this isn't happening, and that he won't let anyone fabricate a story about it that doesn't fairly represent the terms of the contract or the respect owed to those who invested in Finesse2Tymes prior to the momentum building in the neighborhood. We are aware that when a man of Jay Prince doesn't openly discuss a business issue because he feels intimidated, the reason for this is that he is setting a record. He's putting something on the table that can't be later misinterpreted. We all see what's happening here. He is essentially stating, we are all aware of what was agreed upon, and we will uphold its conditions. That is a strong move. Completely stop. But the worst part is what Jay Prince's public reaction reveals. More about the underlying dynamics at work here than just this particular circumstance. Because Finesse2Tymes and NBA YoungBoy are not the only ones involved. This relates to a concept that Jay Prince has based his entire career and reputation on: the value of contracts and the deference due to those who take risks with artists before the public takes notice. Allow me to explain it to you in a way that goes beyond the obvious interpretation of this circumstance. Finesse2Tymes did not have the same level of excitement and enthusiasm when he signed his contract. The agreement was made during a period when Jay Prince was placing a wager on possibilities. At its foundation, the music industry has always operated in this manner. Before everyone else does, someone recognizes something in an artist. They put money, connections, and effort into helping that artist grow, and the agreement represents the risk they took. It is expected that the agreement will be upheld when the wager is profitable. NBA YoungBoy now enters the picture after the momentum has grown and the investment has started to pay off, essentially trying to reroute the fruit in a different direction. According to Jay Prince, that goes beyond a simple commercial disagreement. That puts his entire operating paradigm to the test. And by openly reacting to that, Jay Prince is setting the standard for everyone in the business watching this unfold, not just YoungBoy. It's an obvious message. Once my investments begin to pay off, I am not a man who can be outbid. For those of you who may not comprehend the cultural significance of what Jay, let me explain what Prince stands for in this area. Rap-A-Lot Records and the System J. For many years, Prince has been a major presence in hip-hop. His determination has been put to the test under circumstances that go well beyond negotiations in the music industry. In situations that would have shattered lesser men, he has remained steadfast. His reputation is based on his complete constancy in both his actions and words. When Jay Prince makes public remarks regarding his methods, they are supported by an uninterrupted track record that lends credibility to them. The majority of those in the music business just can't compete. The complexity of Finesse2Tymes' position is also due to its notoriety. It's not only that the terms of the contract are challenging, the reason for this is that the individual in charge of that contract has the legal and cultural authority to enforce its terms, which won't change just because someone with a big following and a devoted following desires a different result. This is the time to answer the actual question that everyone wants to know the answer to. In reality, what would be required to release Finesse2Tymes from this agreement? Because the notion that YoungBoy has sufficient funds to accomplish this keeps coming up. Furthermore, this issue is more complex than a simple commercial transaction, even though financial resources are important. Let's start by discussing the numerical dimension since, although it isn't the entire tale, it is genuine. A 360-degree buyout involves more than just repayment in advance. The estimated future revenues across all of the revenue streams in which the label had a share must be taken into consideration. When purchasing someone out of a 360-degree arrangement, you're discussing possible touring income for the balance of the deal. You are discussing projections for products. You're referring to the publishing stake. The value of any brand transactions that could have been pursued under the current structure is what you are discussing. It is necessary to compute, negotiate, and settle all of those anticipated future revenues. Additionally, the contracting party is free to determine that figure based on their own estimates of what Finesse2Tymes' trajectory would yield. These forecasts won't be conservative because Finesse2Tymes is increasing. In all honesty, even independent artists would find it difficult to absorb the buyout amount without it affecting their own financial structure when dealing with a 360 agreement for an artist whose momentum is clearly accelerating. Although YoungBoy is well off, it's unclear if the buyout price Jay, it's unclear if Prince would genuinely consent to one that makes sense financially for YoungBoy's business. Second, and this is very important, money by itself won't cure this problem because it's more than just a business deal between two people with no past or relationship. Jay is involved in this, Prince, which implies that the ultimate arrangements, structure, the style of approach, and the level of respect displayed during the negotiation all have a significant impact. You can't just send Jay a phone number, Prince, and anticipate that the issue will be resolved. Any resolution's terms must satisfy J Prince's comprehension of his obligations, not only monetarily, but also in terms of how the matter was resolved and his perspective is recognized. Third, and this is the element that most people simply ignore, is the subject of what happens to the terms of the transaction even after a buyout. Certain provisions survive a buyout in many 360 deals. Pre-existing publishing rights may not transfer right away. For a predetermined amount of time, revenue sharing on projects that have previously been released may continue. Certain recordings recorded during the contract term may still be owned by the label. After the buyout, Finesse2Tymes may enter into new agreements with limitations. Each of these components is a possible subject of contention and must be discussed separately. Take a moment to consider that. Even if Jay and YoungBoy, Prince will decide on a buyout amount tomorrow, but it may take months of legal and commercial negotiations to sort out all the components of a 360-degree arrangement. Additionally, Finesse2Tymes has been in a condition of limbo during that time, with restrictions on his freedom of movement within the industry. The streets have been keeping a close eye on this issue, and everyone who knows how these transactions really operate agrees that Jay, in this case, Prince has a lot more power than YoungBoy. Not because of the legal and contractual framework. Prince has more power than the party attempting to buy out the transaction. Now, this is more than just a business deal between two OGs with historical resources. In the end, this is about Finesse2Tymes and how his career and future will be affected by this circumstance. And that's the aspect of this tale that occasionally gets obscured by all the back and forth around Jay, YoungBoy, and Prince. Finesse2Tymes is in a truly challenging situation. He has a man in YoungBoy who obviously thinks highly of him, wants to invest in him, and has a platform and reach that may greatly speed the development of Finesse2Tymes. That's not a typical opportunity. YoungBoy is reportedly eager to offer Finesse2Tymes the kind of true backing and co-signing that artists strive for years. To have that available but not be able to take full advantage of it due to a contractual arrangement, that really irritates me. Finesse2Tymes signed his contract with Jay at the same moment. Prince for reasons that at the time made sense. The connection with Jay Prince is valuable in and of itself. Being in Jay, it is difficult to match the protection and legitimacy that Prince's camp offers. How to handle this without jeopardizing his friendship with Jay is the question for Finesse2Tymes. Prince, while also failing to fully consider the opportunity that YoungBoy offers. Family, that's a tightrope walk. Finesse2Tymes' career will be affected in the long run by how he responds to this circumstance, how he communicates, who he publicly supports, and what he says and doesn't say. The culture is watching, regardless of how the contract problem turns out. Furthermore, in our culture, your actions during difficult situations reveal more about your identity than anything you might say in a song. In the end, this circumstance involving Jay, there is more to Prince, Finesse2Tymes, and NBA YoungBoy than just a single contract dispute involving three individuals. It serves as a case study of the hierarchies of power that control every aspect of the music business, how agreements are set up to safeguard original investors, the relationship between legal documents and street credibility and loyalty. Additionally, even the wealthiest artists may encounter limitations while attempting to function within pre-existing systems. John, Prince, established his kingdom with the knowledge that respect is a must. Agreements are important, and a man's word has weight. It is the money that keeps everything else running. You have to admit that, Jay. Regardless of whether you agree with how this issue is unfolding, Prince is only acting in accordance with his own set of rules. Nothing he is doing is out of character for him. YoungBoy's attempt to formally integrate Finesse2Tymes into his universe is also entirely congruent with his personality. YoungBoy has always made decisions based on loyalty, frequently at great personal expense. This individual has suffered both publicly and emotionally as a result of his unwillingness to change his mind about who he supports. It is a loyalty move on his part to release Finesse2Tymes from a contract that restricts their capacity to grow together. With his career at stake and influential persons on both sides of a conflict that only he can truly feel the weight of, Finesse2Tymes sits in the heart of a culture that has genuine significance. The actual query is whether Jay will Prince eventually come up with a figure and a framework that suit him, or does this turn into a protracted impasse that serves no one's interests? More significantly, what does this instance reveal about our perceptions of artist autonomy, commercial contracts, and the highest echelons of hip-hop power dynamics? Over the next few months, the answers to those questions will become clear. You already know where you need to be in order to receive the complete breakdown when they do. What do you think of this family? Do you believe that YoungBoy or Jay will be able to make this happen for Finesse2Tymes? No one at the table can beat the Prince's hand. Leave a comment with your ideas. I'd like to know your opinions on this. For further in-depth analyses of the circumstances influencing hip-hop culture, tap the video that is currently playing. We'll see you in the